and welcome to you all to this celebration of the life of Swami Yogeshananda. This is a memorial service, but it is certainly not meant to be solemn. The Swami was a lively and joyous human being. He produced such a tremendous amount of work in his life. Among those works was this center, of course, which is still sustained by his momentum as a tool of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. That's how he spoke of it. So since we do not have Swami Sarvadevananda yet, I will simply start the service this way. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityor Ma Amrutangamaya, Abir Moiti. Lead us, O Lord, from thy truth as Shakti to thy truth as Brahman. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from rebirth and death to immortality. Light us through and through with thy everlasting shining presence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So this is the memorial service written by Swami Prabhavananda, Pravrajika Yoga Prana, and some other nuns and monks in the late 40s, early 1950s. And it starts this way. I am the resurrection and the life, saith the Lord. And he that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Let us now feel the presence of our beloved Swami Yogeshananda Ji in him who dwells in all beings and in whom all beings dwell. For the hand of the potter has shattered the vessel that he made and has hidden from us, as with a veil, the face of one we love. Infinite time has received the hurrying soul, and our love cries out in vain. You were with us, and now you leave us alone. Hear now, beloved, hear once more, as you go ahead on your journey. Excuse me, I need to change glasses. I'm getting blind. You were with us, and now you left us alone. Hear now, beloved, hear once more as you go ahead on your journey, our salutation and farewell. Forgive us now all you suffered, the pain and the loneliness. Forgive all our angry and impatient thoughts. Forgive us for every failure to love and for every failure to express our love. Forgive us for all you lacked in life and for all you lack in death. Forgive us for the labor that left you weary and for the love that failed to comfort you. Forgive. Now let us tenderly recall the times that we shared in your journey through life, the triumphs and the setbacks, the joys and the sorrows. Let us not forget any act you did that was helpful and generous, kind, courageous, and selfless. It is indeed wonderful to remember our journey together. You are very holy to us now in the hour of death. Know how much we love you. Until we too are wrapped in death, may we never forget to send you our constant and thorough love and prayer. Know that love is stronger than death. Many waters cannot quench it, nor can the floods overwhelm it. Your hand is not unclasped from our hand, nor has your name vanished from the life of our hearts. Of this we are certain. Our longing and the strength of our love cannot fail to reach you and give you strength according to God's will, here and hereafter. Rest, dear Swami Yogeshananda, and be at peace. Be one with the company of the saints, and all your imperfections are behind you. May you know fulfillment of your heart's desire. And never forget, the truth is that you are always united with the Lord. Keep that thought in your mind. Cherish it. Meditate on it. Realize this truth. May Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother and the gods of high heaven be your protectors on the path that you tread before us. May Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother and the gods of high heaven be your protectors in the dwellings of the righteous. Go forward like a happy traveler to distant lands and more distant, onward from light to light, from glory to glory. Death is certain for the born. Rebirth is certain for the dead. Worn-out garments are shed by the body. Worn-out bodies are shed by the dweller within the body. New bodies are donned by the dweller like garments. Bodies are said to die, but that which possesses the body is eternal. It cannot be limited or destroyed. That reality which pervades the universe is indestructible. No one has the power. No one has the power to change the changeless. O Divine Mother who comes to this, O Divine Mother who comes to us in the form of death, we salute you and invoke your blessings again and again. O Krishna, loving shepherd of the people, O Buddha, Lord of compassion, O Jesus, lover and savior of the soul, O Ramakrishna, form of all God's forms, may you and every nameless master of the spirit cherish the soul departed from us. Keep this soul in your presence, O Lord God, and shine upon it with your everlasting life, and shine upon it with your everlasting light. And now, beloved Swami Yogeshananda Ji, the Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. We will close this celebration, this part of the celebration of Swami Yogeshananda Ji's life by a reading from Swami Vivekananda. The Swami wrote this in a letter to a friend. The death of the one we love is always a great turning point in our own life, and we must try to understand it. In the midst in the midst of our natural sorrow, we must realize that this is also a spiritual opportunity. It is an opportunity to understand and see more deeply into the true nature of things, and know what is behind the appearance of tragedy and loss. In the The surface of the sea rises and sinks alternately, but to the observant soul, each sinking reveals more and more of the depth and the treasures that lie hidden at the bottom. Coming and going is all pure delusion. The soul never comes or goes. There is no place. Where is the place where it shall go when all spirit, when all space is in the soul? Where shall be the time for entering and departing when all time is in the soul? The earth moves, causing the illusion of the movement of the sun. But the sun does not move. So nature is always moving, changing, lifting veil after veil, turning over leaf after leaf of its great body, while the witnessing soul drinks in knowledge, and unmoved and unchanged. All souls that have ever been, are, or shall be, are in the present tense. They are all standing, as it were, at one geometrical point. The idea of space does not occur to the soul. Therefore, all that were ours, are ours, and always will be ours. They are always with us. We are in them. They are in us. The clouds move across the face of the sun, creating the illusion that the sun is moving. So nature, body, and matter move on, creating the illusion that the soul is moving. Thus it is that the instinct which men of every race have to feel the presence of the departed around them is also true intellectually. Each soul is like a star, and all stars are set in that infinite sky, which is the Lord. In him is the root, the reality, the real individuality of each and all. Religion began with the search for some of those stars that had passed beyond our horizon. It ended with finding them all in God and ourselves in the same place. Our friend has given up the old garment he was wearing and now stands where he always was through all eternity. Will he manifest another such garment in this or any other world? I sincerely pray that he will not until he does so in full consciousness. I pray that none may be dragged anywhere by the unseen power of their past actions. I pray that all may be free and have the knowledge of that freedom. But if they are to return again, let us pray that their dreams will be of peace and bliss. That's the end of the quote from Swami Vivekananda. Beloved Father, Mother, our dear Lord, from thy lesser truth, lead Swami Yogeshananda to thy highest truth. From darkness, lead Swami Yogeshananda to light. From death, lead Swami Yogeshananda to immortality. Light him through and guide him evermore with thy loving presence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto us all. When Swami Shantarupananda left the body, Swami Shantarupananda was in Portland for many years. He asked that John Lennon's song Imagine be sung. Now, I don't know that Swami Yogeshananda asked for any song, but I do know that one song that he loved was Get Ready to Sail. and he asked that it be sung many times by the one who will sing it for us now, Jerry Brunner, who will sing Get Ready to Sail. Are you there, Jerry?
Okay.
Oh, he's not. Here he is.
Here I am. I sang this at some of the Vedanta programs, and sometimes Cindy was with me and she sang it too. A couple things came to mind since Swami's passing about this song. Is there's a line in this song that refers to the other side, and so that sort of has a different meaning now. And the other thing that came to mind this morning was Ramakrishna saying that the winds of grace are always blowing, but you need to raise your sail. In a moment of reflection, looking back upon my life, there were times I changed direction, letting fortune pass me by. There was seldom second chances, and nothing so profound as a lesson learned the hard way, used next time around. Be ready to sail. When a good wind blows your way, be ready to sail. Cast your fate upon the water, catch a big wave by the tail. When a good wind blows your way, be ready to sail. There are those whose hearts are restless for a new and different shore, but filled with second guesses, they never climb on board. While those with faith to guide them leave all their fears behind, to know their destination on the other side. Be ready to sail. When a good wind blows your way, be ready to sail. Cast your fate upon the water, catch a big wave by the tail. When a good wind blows your way, be ready to sail. Be ready to sail. When a good wind blows your way, be ready to sail. Cast your fate upon the water, catch a big wave by the tail. When a good wind blows your way, be ready to sail. Be ready to sail.
Thank you, Jerry. That was beautiful and so very appropriate. Cindy, can you see how many people there are with us this morning?
It says 40 screens full.
Okay, that means there are probably close to 50 people. Many of them, I'm sure, would like to say something about their dear friend and mentor, Swami Yogeshananda ji. Because there are so many of you, I will say just please be considerate and do not talk too long so that we have a chance for everyone to speak and say a few words. Who would like to start?
May I?
Yes, of course, Tom.
Okay. after he transitioned, I talked to Cindy and you, and we were going to do something. And I wrote this, just sat down, and it's very brief. And it says, I will never be able to repay the gift you gave, but I will never cease trying. Godspeed, my dear friend. The interesting thing is I had no sooner written that than this came to my mind just fully blown. It said, and there are angels. I have no idea where that came from. It was part of the thought. I started, anyway, I called Brother Shankar because I wanted to talk to him a little bit about it. And he explained to me that often when someone transitions the body, they're more present with us now than they were. And when he was talking, I had this very warm feeling in my heart toward Brother Shankar, which surprised me. But it also took me. And I'm glad that that happened because I think that was yet another gift. I don't think of him as gone. I think of him as present with us all, and I'm thankful for that. Thanks for letting me share.
Well, thank you, Tom. And as the testimony of the saints tells us over and over, there are indeed angels. And may they surround the Swami. May he be part of their company, of those saints and those angels. So, who else would like to share something? Please just step right up and make yourself known. Pranab, are you with us? Pranab Lahiri? Oh, what a shame.
Unmute Pranab.
He's here, but he needs to unmute himself.
Pranab, what I would like you to do before you say anything is perhaps sing one of the songs that your late wife used to sing at the Swami's request. I know there were many of those. If you can be so kind as to sing one of the songs that Kamala used to sing, and then would you say a few words, please? And as Cindy said, you need to unmute yourself. Well,
I'm going over to help him. Just a moment, please. Sorry.
Okay, Vimala. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
In the meantime, those of you who haven't yet spoken, please get your thoughts together. We do very much want to hear from you. This is being recorded and will be available for people to listen to. You can direct them to it later. And so they'll be able to hear what you had to say. Well, before Pranab is getting ready, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Surely there must be.
Well, I'm happy to tell a story which is somewhat very Swami, but somewhat irreverent, because one of the things I always loved about him was his fantastic sense of humor.
Yes.
And
Yeah, this is okay now. No, you can.
so
Hold on just one moment now. Someone else is speaking for just a few minutes.
Sorry about it. Yeah, no, just do.
No problem.
So my story, actually, I'll try and keep it brief, but it has a little bit of a context to it. I think in 1992 or 3, somewhere around there, I used to meet with a group of interfaith collection of people at the Trappist monastery at Conyers. because Father Tom Francis wanted to do interfaith work. And so, you know, Swami was one of the people that met with us. There were Sufis and rabbis and ministers and whatever. And I happened to be standing with Father Tom and Swami one day, and Father Tom said to me, Laurel, would you like to hear how and when I found out there was something far greater than myself and my world? And so Swami and Father Tom were the same age. And, you know, I was quite a bit younger, but I said, sure. So Father Tom started telling me about how when he was a young novitiate, he was working on the belfry at the top of the church, and he started slipping and he felt this energy push him back, and it saved his life. And over the course of his years, he would feel the energy in some way or another. And most recently, it had come to him at 3 a.m. when he was doing his matins prayers, and said to him, Father, you know, he said to him, Tom, reread the whole Bible, but this time say she instead of he. And he said to me, you can imagine, Laurel, how this shook the foundations of my whole Catholic faith. And I did it, and I've loved it. And so I call the voice Sophia. So Swami said to me, yes, Laurel, us monks will do anything to deal with the celibacy bit.
That is the testimony of many of the saints, Laurel. It's true.
So, yes, you know, love to share it. And then I have another very brief story because it was so powerful. I invited him in transpersonal psychology to come to my class and talk to everybody. And he went around the circle, everyone was sitting in a circle asking people what they thought was the purpose of life. And I would say 90% of the people in the circle said to be happy. And he said, so tell me, if you had a 12-year-old shooting heroin up his arm in front of you, would you be happy? And of course, you know, very sobering. Life, live it as richly and as fully and as comfortably as you can. Great gift, and I appreciate you letting me share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurel. So Pranab, did you hear my request?
I am here, but I don't know if you can bring me in.
Yes, yes, we hear you clearly. All you need to do is just say what you have to say, and if you care to sing one of the songs that your wife used to sing for Swami before you speak, if you care to.
Hello,
Yes,
I don't know.
we hear you. We hear you, Pranab. Fine, Pranab. All right. Since Pranab continues to have some difficulties, who else would like to speak? Someone else who knew the Swami and has one of these wonderful stories to share. Please.
Brother Shankar,
Yes, Bhagirath.
I've been very blessed to share some intimate moments with Swami Yogeshananda. And the best way to describing is by our three famous current letters, P, D, F. P stands for the principles that he abided by. D stands for the discipline that he always retained, and F for the deep faith that he always carried along with him. So let me give quick examples of each one of them. In the principles, apparently as a conscientious objector, he chose not to join the war. But on the other hand, he chose to start a battle of establishing a good, stable Vedanta center. And I say battle because he has fought so many forces in order to be able to establish it. It is a story by itself, but it goes to show that he was a warrior who never joined the war. The principals, one time, and perhaps Tom might remember, that at the time of the general body meeting, he says, I have something to apologize. One time I used the center money for my coffee cup. And he says, I felt so bad that it hurt my conscience so much. That's the way he was. He wanted to spend even 1 cent outside the budget of the center. The second point, D, is a discipline. The discipline, there is no way to translate except going to Sanskrit root. In Sanskrit, the discipline will be called tapa. It is an internal and external combustion which purifies yourself all the time. That way, he was going through that tapa all the time. It also says that this tapa always imparts a special halo around his head. And that was felt by the 2 instances. Number 1, when our center was being constructed, there was a carpenter who was working on that side. He did not know anything what he was working on, except the skill that he had to show to put up the center. So he called me and he says, sir, I don't know what this is I'm working on, but I know one thing. When I come here for work, I feel so much at peace. I feel so much at ease. So what is this place that you are building which gives me that feeling of peace? That was the direct result of Swami Vai's tapa, because tapa creates an aura. It is not seen but felt. The second instance will be, and perhaps it was briefly mentioned by Uma in the last couple of matters, when the students from Spelman College came to visit our center, they were awestruck. And sometimes I wish we can, or Uma can make us available the things that they wrote about the center, because this was their first introduction to a Vedanta center. They saw all the religious emblems, which it was Swami Vai's deep wish to put inside. And the way they wrote about that one, that goes to show that his tapa was fully causing its impact. And the last thing is faith. And when I say faith, faith will not be translated as religion. Faith will be translated as his deep trust in God, his deep dedication to God. And that came out the best when we were having an enormous financial struggle to survive financially and keep the center floating. And he was worried and he was not worried. Until one morning, he said, last night on my email, I saw an enormous donation by someone totally unknown. And that's the way he thanked God. So that was his deep faith in God. And finally, I want to share with you that one time when he asked me to give a talk on death, primarily because I'm an ongoing member of Vedanta Center, and also I'm a pathologist who deals with death all the time. And I chose the topic as from the Tennyson's poem, Death is a Valley. And my title was, is death a valley or a peak? And after that, he called me privately one time and he said, I want my death to be a peak, not a valley. And what I'm afraid, Bhagirath, that the doctors will not leave me alone when I'm dying. So I want to create a will that no artificial efforts are put in to keep me alive. I want to peacefully die in a very natural way. And he says, I would like you to be my trustee, Bhagirath, because that time he thought that he would die in the center. By our bliss and by our good fortune, he lived many more lives, many more years behind after that. But his wish was that he doesn't. This is exactly like Brother Shankar said, that jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. Once you are born, you are bound to die. And that is where I added my own things. I said, I have modified that jatasya hi dhruvo rogaha, jatasya hi dhruva jara, tadutpannam dhruvam mrityuhu, mrityuna kim puna vivek. Once you are born, the diseases are bound to strike you. It can strike even when you are in the womb. If the diseases keep you immune, in that case, the old age will keep you. And the death will knock on your door because the old is there. So if you are going to die, either of the disease or of the old age, why be fearful of death? And that is something he exactly exemplified. And unlike Brother Shankar's translation, that changing of garment, he was such a pakka Vedantist. He would not change his garments even when he goes to heaven. He will go in the same Swami clothes, and the people there will be absolutely delighted to see, to have the thrill of seeing him there knocking on the door of heaven. So in the last part, I would say that when he was given a farewell, if you had seen that on the TV, it was very, very properly put, in which the subtle body of Swami Vai in the form of a picture is right there, and then his physical body was lying in front of it, as if his physical body was in the lap of the subtle body. And that is what our Swami Vai is. So I would conclude by saying that although this is a memorial service, the challenge is to keep it in the memory all the time. And perhaps I would introduce the idea that at least once a year, we should make it a Swami Yogeshananda Day, so that some talks, especially emphasizing the interfaith connections and the relationship of God and human, may be discussed and celebrated on that day. He was a man with a vision. He had a humor. His humor was a dry humor. And sometimes you have to learn it. And secondly, he did not need and he would not accept any eulogy on that day. If you praise him, he would brush you off in his characteristic way, ha 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 ha, so that you don't spend too much time in telling the good things that you want to about him. Today, he could not stop me from saying at least a few good things, because right now I got the power of expression. And Swami Vai, sorry for that one, but we had to say how blessed we are. How blessed is the center. How blessed is the city of Atlanta to have you, where there is no corner where you are left untouched with your sacred self. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhagirath. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on their experiences with the Swami Yogeshananda? There are many stories about him.
Can I tell a quick story? Just a
Yes,
quick story
please.
about Swami?
Yes, please get closer to the microphone.
Okay. Yeah, he was the Swami and the teacher and the head of the center, but he was also a very dear friend, warm-hearted. We really loved him. At this period of time, I want to tell the story. We were living on the same street. The center was just a few blocks down. And he came up one day on his bicycle. And we were visiting in the front yard, and he noticed that we had mulberry trees, and they were full of mulberries. So he asked, he said, can he pick some mulberries? I said, sure, pick all you want, you know. So he picked a bunch of mulberries and went home and few days later, he bicycles over and hands us a homemade mulberry pie. And I just love that memory of Swami, and that captures a characteristic of him that I like to remember.
Thank you, Jerry, for that sweet memory. There are mulberry trees here at the center as well, the center in Tucker, and I'm told that he used to regularly make mulberry pies during the season of the year when they were fruiting, and they fruit abundantly. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Shankar.
Yes.
I would like to pay my Shraddhanjali, my homage to Swami Yogeshananda. My
I think I go away.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, you're there. Please, Pranab just said a word.
Okay.
That's all right. We'll get to him next.
Okay. So some of my memories are deeply personal, and some I would try to make impersonal as my impersonal comments. Starting with personal ones, I would say Puja Swamiji. I always used to call him Swamiji, and we discussed it and said, that is only for Swami Vivekananda. And I said, no, but for me, you are my Swamiji. So he laughed and he accepted it. So from that point on, I will make it very brief. He came to Atlanta sometime in the mid-80s. And I exactly remember my first darshan. Darshan I use specially because any person who is holy, we have darshan. Not ordinary sight, but darshan. So I had my first holy glimpse of Swami Vivekananda at somebody's house on Shemley Tucker Road. And the moment I heard him, I was sold out. That's the only thing I can say. I was touched by the depth of his knowledge, by his stern, disciplined look. He meant business. Spirituality was his life blood. And when you hear that, you feel you have arrived. Because I do believe that comes a time in your life when the moment is ready, right person comes along. And that's what happened to me. I was introduced as a child by my father to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. But until I was that particular age and particular understanding, this person came into my life and changed the direction, complete direction of my life. I still live in the world. I do everything. But when Swamiji said, Uma, you don't want to be on the periphery of spirituality. You want to pursue it in everything you do. And I said, yes, Swamiji, I'm trying to do that. So in Swami Vivekananda, I found my spiritual anchor, my spiritual father, I would say. My father introduced me to Vedanta, but this is my spiritual father. And that is a supreme, supreme blessing. Then there are many, many memories, particularly of retreats. Most of us who have attended retreats at the Center of New Beginnings in Delanuga, they would remember and they would testify how from the morning till the evening, we used to bathe in his Gnan Ganga. That is the Ganga Ganges of his knowledge. Just like Henry David Thoreau put it, that after reading Bhagavad Gita, he felt like he has taken a bath in Ganges. Same way I felt, and I'm sure many of us felt, after listening to him, we felt we had a deep bath, deep soul bath. So such sweet memories. And now some of the human aspect. Everybody has one's own human aspect. So yes, as I wrote in one of my articles, he had sweet tooth. Not only that, he used to love certain cakes and certain chocolate cookies. And he also was a fantastic cook. He made the best cookies in the world. And I particularly remember the cookies he made of dates. You remember, I think Jerry and Lori will remember those dates cookies were yum, yum, yum. So he was a great cook. And those who have visited him at Trabuco, they would also know that he was a great host. He would never let you go without something not ready, something that he fixes himself. So when I go to Trabuco, because I visit my nephews in Los Angeles, so usually they take me there. And one time we were 4 of us. So when he saw, I always call ahead of time. So he came running like that. And I ran like a child. And we hugged her. And he straight takes me to the kitchen. I say, okay, all of you, what do you take? I said, Swamiji, what do you have in mind? No, you just answer my question. I said, well, in the afternoon, we take tea. So there he goes. And little as he was, he would not be able to reach those very high, cabinets in the kitchen. So he brought this stool. He stood up and we offered to help. No, he would not take any help. He climbed it. He got down the saucers and cups. He put the kettle on the stove and fixed the best tea and would individually take care. Do you put milk in your tea? How do you take your tea? One cup of sugar? 1 spoon of sugar, etc. So he was a great host, great cook, and he was always ready for sweets. And boy, did I make fun of him. On the last day, I think Jillian and some of you were there. 2009, we paid farewell to him. And what came over me, I wanted to mimic him. The way he recited Ring Ritam Thamachlo. So just like him, I would go Ring Ritam Thamachlo Gunachi Guneja. So, but the very surprising thing, I was so sorry after doing that. But he puts hands on my shoulders and says, Uma, that was perfectly great. And the guy did not feel offended at all. He enjoyed it. He participated in the fun. So he also had that very sweet sense of humor. And sometimes it was not that sweet also. He had that wry sense of humor too. So I will sum up here with one of his best and my favorite prayer. And I think I would not recite it in Sanskrit, which is,
Uma, I'm sorry, dear.
I'm,
I need to interrupt you. There are many, many other people who
yes,
would.
I'm finishing it. Hold on, please. So this is the last part. And this is the translation. Dear Swami Yogeshananda, I bow down to you, the true teacher, who is the very embodiment of knowledge, of wisdom, and who has attained the supreme joy or the bliss of Brahman, beyond the duality of the world and sky high in spirituality, whose sole attention is on I am that, one with divinity, eternal, without impurities, established in truth. And this is his most favorite line. And who, like the sky, is a unique witness of everything around in the cosmos. Guruji, again and again, I offer my salutations to you, true teacher of Vedanta, who is beyond the mind and devoid of three gunas. Pujya Swamiji, Shata Shata Prana.
Thank you.
Shankara, Rita would like to go next, and she wants to do a share screen. So can we do that? Because she's ready to do that.
Well, I want to see if Pranab is still with us.
Oh.
I'm here.
Okay, let's Pranab and then Rita. Okay.
Pranab, I requested, I don't know if you heard me, I requested that you sing one of the songs
Okay.
that your wife used to sing for the Swami
Okay.
before you offer us your reminiscences.
Okay.
If you would be so kind.
I will. I'll try. Yeah. মাছেনার আমি আছি ভাবনা কি আছে আমার মায়ের হাতে খাই পড়ি মা নিয়েছেন আমার ভার মা আছেন আর আমি আছি ভাবনা কি আছে আমার. To translate this, it says, Mother is there and I am here. She feeds me. She takes care of me. I have nothing to worry, nothing to fear. Swami Yogeshananda loved this song and she sang it many times. It's very hard for me to speak about Swami Yogeshananda. He was my friend, philosopher, and guide. For 40 years, I had connection with him, and I know that he was sent here by my actual guru who initiated me, Swami Vivekananda. But the simplicity, the humility, the kindness that Swami Yogeshananda brought with him is unique. I never thought that I can speak so freely to a Swami as if he's my equal. No, he's like my guru. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Deva Maheshwara, Guru Reva Param Brahma, Tashmai Shri Gurave Namah. He was kind. Nobody knew about Vedanta when it came. Somebody addressed a letter to him, and it was to Vendetta Society. And Swami laughed and laughed and laughed and always laughed at this story. vendetta and Vedanta. But he was so kind. He cooked in a restaurant which fed homeless people where they came to eat. He cooked, he served food day in and day out in this place where they were treated with the utmost respect and dignity. This taught us a lesson that look at everything as Brahman. I thought that was such a great training he gave, to look at everybody as Brahman. That the homeless man comes, chooses what to eat from a menu, and it is served respectfully by people. It is amazing. I will just not take too much time. I cannot go on telling stories, but he stayed in my house several times, and it was wonderful. And for all these years, and I had an opportunity to meet him about a year and a half back. So I was in California on no connection. And suddenly I got news that he is in very serious condition. So I got a ride and went to see him in a hospital. And next day would be, he will be moved to a hospice. And the doctors had given up. But he, the moment he saw, he smiled and he told the Swami who was there, "Oh, this is Pranam." And I had a wonderful visit with him. And he didn't die then. Somehow he survived, he went back and lived another year and a half, close to 2 years probably. And then he passed away. I will never forget that smile. He took charge of when my late wife Jayanti passed away. He organized a memorial at a church of one of his friends. There was not even standing room there. People were sitting on the floor, all around the wall, and it was such a wonderful thing. We felt as if he brought, I think, I don't want to continue. I'm sure he is in the lotus feet of Sri Ramakrishna and the Holy Mother, and my homage to him. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma, Jai Swami Ji ki Jai.
Thank you, Pranab. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I misspoke your late wife's name. Now I think Rita is waiting. Thank you so much, Pranab, for all of that, including the song.
If I may please share some pictures, then I can, you have to allow me to share screen.
It's in Cindy's control.
I'm looking for the, let me see. Have you clicked your share screen? Yeah, you have.
It says host to disable, host has to enable participant.
It is. Let me see if I can.
I can let someone else go and we can figure it out afterwards.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. Okay. So do you see the 4 pictures? Are you able to see the 4 pictures?
Yes.
Oh, or just one of, oh, you've got one of them, which is, this is a picture of Highgate Station in London. And I have met Swami Yogeshananda only once in August 2018. But if you can imagine a moment when there's no space and time, and that is the only possible explanation of how we were able to meet Swami Yogeshananda and make such a deep connection. Here is, I have to, okay, anyway, we'll just keep it there. When we met, Ranjit and I were together, and we started speaking to him, and he was so welcoming and so warm. And he after a little while, we discovered that we were all in London at the same time. And he said that was the happiest time in his life. And he would be in this particular corner of Shepherd's Hill. He would walk up to the Mennonite Center. He would walk up to the Vedanta Center, and we would walk down Shepherd's Hill to the Mennonite Center. And so today I want to share a song in honor of his Quaker roots and our common heritage of being part of the community in the Mennonite Center. And it's called God and Man at Table Are Sat Down, because that time when we were with Swami Yogeshananda, it seemed like we were with God, and he made it possible for mere mortals to feel like it is possible. There is potential within us to be in the presence of divine. God and man at table are sat down. Oh, welcome all ye noble saints of old, as now before your very eyes unfold the wonders also long ago foretold. God and man at table are sat down. God and man at table are sat down. Elders, martyrs, all are falling down. Prophets, patriarchs are gathering round. What angels longed to see now man has found. God and man at table are sat down. God and man at table are sat down. Worship in the presence of the Lord, with joyful songs and hearts in one accord. And let our host at table be adored. God and man at table are sat down. God and man at table are sat down. God and man at table are sat down. Thank you all for this opportunity and for welcoming Ranjit and I into your Vedanta family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita. Who else? There are many, many of you on the screen who I know knew the Swami well. What would you like to tell us?
May I speak?
Yes, please.
Thank you. This has been a very wonderful commemoration for Swami Yogeshananda. We went back some years, and I always admired him as what I would call an old-time sadhu. Strong in the spirit, unpretentious, kind, and loving. And he was indeed a very good cook. He invited me. I of course always loved his writing. I loved Seven Lighted Windows and other books that he written, including the last amazing book on Swami Yogeshananda that was published in 2017. He invited me, it was in October of 2005, to come down to the center, give a few talks, and be the recipient of his extraordinary hospitality. And he gave me the grand tour. I hadn't been in that area before, including the Ebenezer Church and one particular amazing event that was, he was participating in an interreligious group.
Yeah.
So we went over there and he had on his wonderful cowboy hat. And I'm sorry, all my pictures are in New York. I don't have anything to share at the moment. But I just wanted to admire his power of endurance. He was a stalwart pioneer as a monk of the order from the West, a very important precedent. And he did it. And he made a wonderful success of the Atlanta Center after having been elsewhere in the world and also in the company of most of the senior swamis about whom he wrote in his books, Sevak, helper, whatever. So he was a real pioneer and in himself, a strong example of what it means to be a Vedantist. So I bow to him and I welcome also what has happened to the center with Brother Shankara. It's a wonderful continuum.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know Dr. Shelley Brown, she has been a great friend of Swami Yogeshananda's and this center for many years, continues to support us. And so Shelley, thank you so very much. Shelley lives in New York, but knows and stays in touch with this place quite obviously, as she was able to join us today. Thanks again, Shelley, for those very sweet and kind words and very knowledgeable words about the Swami and his taking seriously what Swami Vivekananda said, what Swami Vivekananda said when he said that Vedanta should be taught to Americans by Americans.
Yes, yes. And the great swamis have said, the great Indian swamis, like Swami Nityasrupananda, said there should be no distinction whatsoever.
Indeed.
No distinction whatsoever. That is the essence of Vedanta, no distinctions.
Yes,
Thank
no
you,
distinction, no privilege.
No privilege, no distinction. Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Thank you, Shelley. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay, my pleasure.
Anyone else? There are so many of you who have something to say.
I would like to share something, Brother
Yes,
Shankara. This
please.
is Jillian. So just expanding upon what Pranab said about the time. First of all, I feel very blessed that I was in the same state, only 2 hours drive away from Trabuco during these last years, 5 years of Swami's life. It was a true blessing to be able to go down and see him. And I too, like Pranab, had visited him in the hospital a year and a half ago. And when he got back to the monastery after that, he contacted a few of us and he wanted to give his books away to his devotees. And so I went down to Trabuco and he said, pick whatever you want. So I picked his Gospel of Ramakrishna, great big fat tome with all of his notes in the margin, most of them illegible, but they were his notes, and one other book that I forget now. And as it was clear that he was not about to leave us, but got stronger and better. I got this rather embarrassed call from Swami Yogananda saying, you know, could it be that you have one or two of Swami's books? Because he'd really like them back. Because he's still teaching. So I ended up driving down to Trabuco. I used to see him about every 2 months, I guess, sometimes more often, to give him back his books that he had given away during his, quote, dying days.
Perfect.
But I had so many wonderful times with him, but just one very personal story that I will tell you. So in 2012, I decided to leave my corporate television PR career and to do a hospice training, to become a hospice chaplain. And had there been training programs through Vedanta, I would, of course, have done them. But there weren't. And so I applied and was accepted at the Upaya Zen Center in Santa Fe. It was a 2-year chaplaincy course. And it really was because of Swami's influence and his teachings that I made this huge shift in my life. I don't think I ever would have made this shift without him. And excuse me. And so one day this was when I was still living in Atlanta. I was in California and I went to see him and I said, Swami, I want to tell you something. And I think I had this a little worry that he would, even though I knew his interfaith leanings intimately, I was a little worried that he would have concerns that I was about to do a 2-year program with the Buddhists. So anyway, I told him what I was doing and he was so happy for me and so generous. And so he gave me his blessings 100-fold. And I did what I'm doing now. I just burst into tears. It was such a blessing and it really did change the trajectory of my life in a way I really can't even express. So I'm going to stop now because I'm going to cry some more. Thank you.
Well, Jillian, thank you. And I think we all share your feelings. And that's a very touching story and very characteristic of you.
Brother,
yes, dear.
Brother Shankar, yeah, I have 2 incidents in my life like I to share that I had. I feel so blessed that in year 2000, I had a major surgery at Emory Hospital, and Swamiji, I hardly knew him at that time, but he came in the middle of the afternoon in month of June, driving all the way to see me at my hospital bed. He was so kind and so supportive. And the other memory I have is Vijay and I, we got such an opportunity and we feel so blessed that we were able to wish him happy birthday on his 98th birthday. Mm-hmm. And he was able to talk to us and we were able to tell him how much we love him. And he says, I love you too. And that was his 98th birthday. And who knew that 1 week later, he won't be with us. I just wanted to share that with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Neera. Thank you for both of those memories. They're really perfect bookends to a relationship with him. The fact that he was so generous and loving and supportive of every devotee, and the fact that he would enjoy your presence and your greetings and your birthday wishes on just a few days before his death. Perfect. Thank you, Neera.
Brother Shankar.
Yes, who?
On this occasion,
Yes.
I will relate a couple of items. One, in 2006, Neera and I, before going to India, we asked Swamiji if there's anything in particular that he would like. And he says, yes, I know you're going to different cities. When you meet Swami Harshananda ji, ask him if he has anything he can find from Swami Yatishwarananda ji, who was Swami Yogeshananda ji's first guru.
Mm-hmm.
And as Thakur would have it, we presented the request to Swami Harshananda ji. And he says, let me go look. He went inside to his quarters, gone for about 5-10 minutes, and came back with a metal glass in his hand. And it had, if I remember it right, some engraving on it. And he said, yeah, this is from Swami Yatishwarananda ji. And I felt at that time the presence of Thakur, that how he could make it happen after that many years. That Swami, why asked for something and Thakur offered it to him.
Mm.
And Swami, why was so delighted to have that glass. And I felt so different kind that I had the privilege from Thakur to be able to hold that glass in my hand. And the second, when Neera and I went to see Swamiji in Trabuco a few years ago, one of the few times we were able to see him there, he was so excited seeing us from his quarters as he came out. And we were at the other side of the small lawn in between. And with a hand, he said, just stay there. And his wheelchair, he was so excited, and the walker, he was so excited to come towards us that he lost the balance and fell sideways with his walker also laying beside him. And we felt so bad that his excitement for meeting us took the best of him. But that described him. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, I'm so glad you took the opportunity, Vijay. These are touching memories of the Swami. Yes, his enthusiasm often exceeded his physical abilities in his latter years there at Trabuco. And but it never seemed to daunt him in the least. He was always up and at him again as soon as he could be. Who else would like to share some treasured memory of the Swami?
Hi, Namaste, Brother Shankara.
Hello, Shailesh.
I would like to speak. There are few incidents, few experiences I would like to share. Though they are very personal and private, I have kept it private for quite some time, but I think this is a very appropriate time to share. I met him in December 2000, so it's been about 20 years I knew him. And back then it was the way I was brought up and being part of the Ramakrishna order, I was very informal with him when I came. And I used to argue with him, and sometimes it was, though I didn't mean, but it was about spiritual topics, but he didn't like it. And one day what happened was on Tuesday, this was in 2003, that we used to have a Tuesday class. And I remember we were reading this book of Swami Chaitananda Ramakrishna as we saw him. And we used to have a meditation session after this, the class. And so there was one more devotee. So we three stayed behind, and Swamiji was there. So he sat in the front of the shrine, in the old shrine, and I was sitting right behind him. And there was this devotee on the left side. And after I closed my eyes, it was all dark. And after some time, this is all in my meditation, I suddenly felt there was tremendous light. And I felt there was a sun which had come down all the way, and it was about just 10 feet above the Vedanta center. It was so hot and it was bright. And in the meditation itself, I saw this devotee, and I saw this room lit up completely. And then when I turned my face towards Swamiji, his back was there towards me when we started meditation. I did not see Swami Yogeshananda. I saw Sri Ramakrishna sitting there and smiling and laughing at me, and I could see his teeth. And it was an amazing experience. So it went on for a few seconds maybe, and then slowly the light went away, and then that experience ended. And then I opened my eyes and I saw Swamiji sitting there, and I felt so blessed. After that, obviously, all the arguments stopped. I never argued with him, and then the scolding started. And he would scold me and scold me and scold me. And obviously, because he wanted to, correct me or show me what was right. Obviously, it was for my own good. So that's something which was, it happened almost 17, 18 years ago, but it has stayed on my mind. And second experience I had, not an experience, but an incident. I remember this was in 2006 or 7. I came down to the center in the afternoon, and he was alone, and he was very joyous. We were just two of us. And I said, "What happened, Maharaj?" And he said, "Shailesh, I was curious how I would die and what would happen to me after my death, And he said, Sri Ramakrishna was very gracious. I had an experience what would exactly happen after I give up the body. And I was very happy. And he just sat in the chair. And of course, I didn't ask him any details because, I just felt that was too private. So last time I met him was in December 2019. And he was gracious to allow me to push his wheelchair. And he showed me all the ashram at Trabuco. And then at the end, he said, pick me up and keep me in his inside wheelchair. He was very gracious. And I did that. And I, took him inside his room, and I sat at his feet. At that moment, I felt that I was sitting like at the feet of an age-old rishi. He was a rishi in a real sense. And now I think about it, someone told me that he was the oldest Swami, living Swami of the Ramakrishna order when he passed over. And so I feel that we are so blessed to see someone like that, who will eventually realize that we came across someone so dedicated and someone, like said, unpretentious, just there was no sugarcoating at all, at least for me, when he spoke to me, it was all straightforward. So I feel very much blessed. I know for sure that I will meet him again, and I'm sure that the scoldings will continue. Thank you so much.
Well, maybe not, Shailesh. But thank you for sharing those treasured memories.
Thank you.
Very much appreciate it. Who else would like to say something? Please.
Well, I will if nobody else is going to say
Please,
something.
Cindy, yes, please.
I kind of snuck into the Vedanta Center through the side door in the mid-90s. Jerry Brunner actually knew that I meditated and said, "Hey, there's a great place in your neighborhood you can meditate every evening." And anyway, so he told me a little about the Swami, but I knew nothing about Vedanta. Anyway, I started going on Monday nights and meditating, but that was all I did. I didn't come to the classes or anything. I didn't get serious about Vedanta until many years later, but I got to be friends with the Swami, and he was just so lovable and unique. But just from a friend perspective, I lived in the same neighborhood like Jerry did when the center was in Decatur. And then the center moved to Tucker in 1999, 2000, and I moved to Tucker in 2004, just a few years later, and I live less than half a mile away from the Tucker Center now. And shortly after I had moved into the Tucker house, there was a knock at my door one day, and I opened the door, and it was Swami standing there in his giant bicycle helmet, or it looked giant on him because he was kind of a small man. And he was holding a freshly baked banana bread that he had baked, of course. And he said, "Welcome to the neighborhood." And in that kind of way that he, when he said something very everyday, you know, he would kind of like air quotes without doing air quotes, "Welcome to the neighborhood." He meant it sincerely, but he also was mocking himself a little bit. So I was like, "Oh, Swami, that's so sweet that you brought this and rode across the highway to bring it to me." I said, "Come in, have some tea." He said, "No, I have other stops to make. I'll see you later." And he takes off on his bicycle. But anyway, it was just, he was just a sweet, sweet friend, as well as a just amazing Swami. You know, he had those two in one, which I think made him so attractive to people. That's all.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Thank you, Cindy, for sharing those memories. Anyone else?
I'd like to say a few words, Shankaraji, please.
Yes, Swarna, I was wondering when you'd pipe up.
I tried a few times, but somehow it didn't make it, but I'm here.
Well, there, good.
Thank you. Swami Yogeshananda ji came to Atlanta in 1981. I remember it very, very clearly. When we went to get an apartment together, that was on Briarcliff Road, where I think there is a Whole Foods on that side right now. La Vista and Briarcliff.
Yes.
And I remember we used to go to the Aarti just about every day, especially over the weekends there. Swamiji started the classes at Paidaya, and there are so many memories of that. I can't share all that, but I share a few very close ones that I have very personally. That was Ramna. Swamiji came for Ramna to my house every month, once a month. Swamiji was very regular, and he always brought dessert. That was his favorite. His upside down pineapple cake was just awesome. And Swamiji sat and sang through the whole Ramna. That was very, very dear. And we used to have, potluck after that. Swamiji was very, very regular, and he did not miss anything at all. During the time Swamiji was about to leave Atlanta, I had invited the oldest devotees in Atlanta, Dr. Padye, Dr. Mitra, Dr. Majumudas, Lahiri, etc. A few people. That was very, very dear. And Swamiji was very busy, but he still found time to come. It was very, very special. I did not get to see Swamiji after he left Atlanta, but I remember when Swamiji returned to Atlanta after he left Atlanta and came back in early 19th, I was ill. When he started the center on Sycamore, I couldn't come. I couldn't see Swami, but one day Swamiji showed up at home with Riley. Riley and Swamiji came by, and I really was not in myself, but he was very kind and spent time with me, which was very special. Then after that, when I had picked up myself, I found, because I had the checkbook and things like that. So I went over to meet Swami at Sycamore Center and gave everything to Swami. That was very, very special moment. After Swamiji left Atlanta, I didn't get to see him when he came. I went to see him, and we had an appointment while I was in Los Angeles. But Swamiji has forgotten that day and taken up another another speaking engagement, so I missed him. So that was that, and I wasn't able to see him. Swamiji was very dear, and I have very, very fond memories. I also had moments when we did not agree in things, but you know, he was very close to me and very dear. I was trying to see, I like to share a message that Swami Bodhananda had sent me. I'm going to try if I can get to the mail and read that. I'm not able to change the screen, but Swamiji wrote a very, very nice mail. Let me see if I can. I will try to read that. My younger son, Anand was very little when Swami Yogeshananda came, and he and Swami used to have encounters because Anand was a typical child and he liked to speak. So he had some incidents, but I remember the last time when Anand and Swami were together, that was for the memorial service we had for Jayanti and I was sitting, it was a very hot day. I was sitting next to Pranab and we were sitting for a while. It took a while to get started. So in between, Anand, it took Anand to tell me, Mom, it's so hot. Swamiji is sweating. Please go get some water for him. And I was just really moved. It took a young child to tell me to do that. So I got up and quickly went to the kitchen and, got some water for Swami. And I remembered Pranab was sitting next to me. I couldn't remember to get a cup of water for Pranab. He had to tell me again. Swami was very dear and I will miss him dearly. Sorry I didn't get to see him, but I have very, very fond memories. Namaskar.
Thank you, Swarna. I'm so glad you found your way to found a way to be with us.
Thank you.
Share those very fond memories of the Swami.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm not able to get back into the mail to find the message that Swami Bodhananda had.
Just forward it to Cindy.
Yeah.
Forward it to Cindy Craven, and she'll put it with the rest of the things that are going to appear on the website and our Facebook page. There'll be a memorial album of photographs and written things. So just send it to Cindy and it'll appear there, dear.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Anyone else?
At the beginning of today's session, what you read from Swami Prabhavanandaji's eulogy.
Yes.
Can we get the script of that one, or will that be just an audio recording?
No, of course, I'll send it to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else from anyone?
Yes, Brother Shankar, it's Carol.
Well, hello there, Carol.
Hello, everyone. I joined late, so I don't know who's on this call, but hold on.
It doesn't matter. Just speak to us.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to behave as though it doesn't matter. My favorite early encounter, probably 35 years ago, right shortly after Cindy and Jerry and the small suspects got there, I came to a class in the middle of the week. It was a small number of people there. And just remember, this was many years ago, and I was a very young man. And I made a comment suddenly at the end of a nice little talk he gave, very sweet, intimate little place of about 6, maybe 7 people. And I had just read a book of some kind, Yin and Yang, and thought I knew something. There was a pause at the end of what I had to say, and he looked at me powerfully with what seemed like blue eyes then and said, "I have your number." Now, there is an American teacher talking to an American for sure. Now, the truth of that is I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't know enough then to even be hurt. What I knew was the truth was being spoken, but I didn't know a thing else about it. Many years passed. I continued to be slowly but surely closer to him. And when he was leaving the Vedanta Center many years later, but not so long ago, I asked him, did he remember that? And he said, of course, are you better for it? And I said, just like that. So I knew he had me in his arms, in his heart. And in his rishi type, beautiful way through the years, I slowly began to receive the truth of what he had to say. I would just say to that, the man knew how to speak to an ego to where I would remember it. And I still question why I would remember that, because it didn't land in any kind of way whatsoever, but I remembered it and eventually discovered it was a very important thing for someone to take the, I'm not going to say chance, but just the willing to tell the truth to someone who, I just wonder if he knew that I would remember it. And it's a mystery. I add mystery to that. And it looks like it may not get solved, but it is deeply appreciated. I am complete.
Thank you, Carol. And I can tell you it did not matter to him whether you remembered it or not. He knew it would have an effect. That's why he asked you the question, did it do you good all those years later? And the fact that you did remember it, all the better. But he knew the power of what he was saying. And he was a great teacher. There's no two ways about it.
Yes, yes.
He knew how to land a blow when he needed
I'm still feeling it, and I don't know why I feel so good, but it does.
Yeah, because it's full of that spiritual power.
Amen.
That's why. So, anyone?
Shankaraji, if I may take a minute, I found the letter.
Please.
Thank you. Dear Swarna, I'm saddened to learn about Swami Yogeshananda's passing. As you rightly said, the Swami had a wonderful spiritual journey in his long career, illuminating the lives of many on his path. I have fond memories of many encounters with him. His easy wit, oratory, passion, and commitment to the universal vision of Vedanta were exemplary. We all will miss him dearly. Now that he has been immersed in Brahman, we all can seek his abundant blessings. Long live Swami Yogeshananda as a beacon in our lives. Love, Swami Bodhananda.
Yes, for those of you who don't know who Swarna was reading, he's a Swami who's come here practically every year. He missed last year because of the virus, of course, but he's come here practically every year. Swami Bodhananda Saraswati, head of the Sambodh Foundation, with an organization in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and in South India. A powerful personality. The Swami Yogeshananda respected him a great deal, and I think returned his affection. So anyone else, please?
Brother Shankara?
Yes, Uma.
If nobody is speaking, may I present one special prayer
Yes.
that always we used to recite in the beginning of this Sunday session.
Very good, dear.
Yeah. Just like you recite, what do we recite today? Similar prayer, but this was our routine, and I think many of us will remember. So please join. Oh Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy. May all be free from disease. How thoughtful. May all be free from disease. May all realize what is good. May none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous attain tranquility. May the tranquil be free from bonds. And may the free make others free. May good betide all people. May the sovereign righteously rule the earth. May all beings ever attain what is good. May the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time. May the earth be blessed with crops. May all countries be free from calamity. May holy ones live without fear. And the last one, may the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied. Jai, Jai Shri Krishna.
And now we know why there was such spiritual power in Swami Yogeshananda. He not only understood, but fully believed every line of that prayer and blessing. Thank you, Uma. Anything else from anyone?
Hello, namaste. This is Vicky.
Yes, Vicky.
I met Swamiji in 1981. And I would just like to say that if I have any virtues whatsoever, it's all due to his influence. Thank you. Namaste.
Well, thank you, Vicky. And what a high praise that is. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing that with humility and love.
If I may speak, can you hear me?
Yes, you need to be closer to the microphone.
All right, thank you. I'll just introduce myself. My name is Pierce Griggs. Swami Yogeshananda was my uncle, but we never knew him as Philip Griggs. I always knew him as Swami. And I just wanted to add a little detail. I didn't get to know him as many of you have as a teacher, but I did visit him in Ganges, Michigan when I was a college student. And he was enjoying his time there, very disciplined time in Ganges. And he was also a good host to a college student at that time. And I wanted to also thank Mr. Majmudar for mentioning his Swami's work, battle, perhaps, to found the Vedanta Center there in Atlanta. And I just heard secondhand from my father about the work that Swami was doing. And I think he may have gotten some help from my father to do that work and some support as well. And my father was always very sympathetic to his little brother's efforts. And there's a story there as well, which Jillian might like to hear, which that my father and Swami served together as conscientious objectors.
Yes.
During World War II. And apparently they had roughly a year serving in a hospital in Philadelphia. And when I learned about this a few years back, and I didn't get much detail about it, but I think it was Swami that I spoke with about asking him about it, and he really wasn't, he was reluctant to speak about it because apparently it was enormous suffering that he was asked to minister to. He and my father kind of single-handedly had to try to minister to a ward of mentally ill men who were also terminally ill. And, you know, he didn't have words for that experience, but I could tell from his expressions that it was a life-changing experience. I guess they had virtually no medications, no psychotropic medications, and just extraordinary experience, I'm sure. My father also became very concerned with mental illness and wrote a book about it later in his life. I just wanted to share that, and that may be why Swami had a particular sympathy for work in hospice care. So thank you very much for your observations about Swami, and I've learned a lot about him, and I hope you all can see him again.
Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing this. That was lovely. Many people don't know about Swami's early life and how he served under a cloud. You know, conscientious objectors were not well thought of. And so they served under a cloud. And so we're often given very onerous and challenging duties like the one just described. Anything else from anyone? All right, I'll share just.
Swami, I'll just say one more thing, since it hasn't been mentioned specifically. Swami's work in the interfaith community was tremendous. He founded an organization that later became the Faith Alliance of Metro Atlanta. That's actually changed its name now to Interfaith Atlanta. But he got me involved, and I think he was one of the few people, along with Pleeman Alameen and some couple of others, and Uma, who really brought interfaith awareness into Atlanta. And just want to acknowledge his tremendous contribution and his dedication, you know, really boots on the ground dedication to that work.
Thank you, Jillian. That's true. He was one of the founders of the Faith Alliance of Metro Atlanta, which is now known as Interfaith Atlanta. And he's still very highly treasured by those people. And I'm sure they're mourning his loss as well. Anything else from anyone?
I have fond memories of going together to Pharma, Faith Alliance of Metro Atlanta. We wrote together, and
yes,
2005 to 7 or 8.
Thank you. Yes, he was very faithful and regular at those meetings, I've been told. So I'll just share this. In June of 2010, Swami Swahananda, who had taken responsibility for this center when Swami Yogeshananda retired to Trabuco, assigned me to come here and take responsibility for this center in the congregation. And he said, go see Swami Yogeshananda. So I went to Trabuco to see Yogeshananda, expecting to get a long list of instructions and a lesson in how to run this center. Instead, what I received was very few and very pertinent instructions, and his total vote of confidence, his faith that Thakur Ma would do what was necessary Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother would do what was necessary to continue this center successfully. And so he didn't give me elaborate instructions. He didn't give me anything really more than that very strong vote of confidence and his happiness that I was coming here. And of course, that was very uplifting. As we know, the Swami was capable of being a micromanager in certain circumstances, but he did not do that with me. And so I returned to Swami Swahananda and told him what I had experienced with Swami Yogeshananda. And then the Swami gave me just two instructions. Swami Swahananda gave me just two instructions. Restore the status quo, that is to say, do things the way the Swami had done them when he was here, Swami Yogeshananda, and emphasize jnana, emphasize the path of jnana. Now, I won't go into why that was necessary. Anyone who wants to talk to me about it can talk to me about it. But those were the two instructions that he gave me. So I was left with a vote of confidence from both these Swamis and very few instructions, which for those of you who know me know how congenial that was. And then in July, on July 4th of 2013, Swami Yogeshananda made his last visit here. Swami Yogeshananda, when he came, was very quiet and withdrawn. He was appreciative of the way the center was and all that. But he was quiet and withdrawn. He did meet with some devotees at their request, but there was no, he did not allow, as you've heard, it would be characteristic of him, he didn't allow a lot of falderall and ceremony about his visit. He participated in the July 4th celebration. And as he was getting ready to go, the night before he left, I asked him, Swami, what do you live for now? What is it that keeps you going now? And those of you who know him well will understand how deeply he meant the one word that he said. His answer to the question is, what are you living for now? Was meditation. And as he was leaving, he said, this will be my last visit. It's just too difficult to make the journey. The flight and all of that was all. But he stayed in touch. We stayed in touch very affectionately. And so I was aware of his circumstances as they progressed. And I don't miss the Swami. I feel the Swami. I feel the Swami in the very fiber of this place. I mentioned the momentum. All of the wonderful things that have been said about the Swami, especially that remark about a workman saying, well, how unusual he felt when he came here. I've heard that at least a half a dozen times from other work people who came here, both men and women. What is this place? We don't know anything about this place. We've never heard of this place. And they remarked on the strong feeling of peace and serenity they experienced here. This is the momentum that I'm talking about. Swami Yogeshananda lives on lives on, not only in the realm of spirit, but in the very fiber and bones of this place. So Jai Shri Yogeshananda Ji, Jai Shri Yogeshananda Ji, Jai Shri Yogeshananda Ji. And now, to close our gathering, another of the Swami's favorite songs that was written in 1992, and Swami Yogeshananda requested it to be played and sung by the woman who wrote it and who will now sing it for us. Love's Shining Peace by Cindy Craven.
Love's the only gift you're given you can't keep. When you hide it deep inside, it goes to sleep. And I know we'll find one day all the things we gave away on the road to finding love's shining peace. I'd been sleeping off the winter's bitter grief when awakened by the fragrance of the spring. And I'm amazed year after year, flowers blooming without fear on my way to finding love's shining peace. There's a wonder in the way we're always free to change the world by changing how we see. And on the long journey home, we're not long left alone on the road to finding love's shining peace. Shine on me, shine till I see. Love's the only gift you're given you can't keep. When you hide it deep inside, it goes to sleep. I know we'll find one day all the things we gave away on the road to finding love's shining peace. On the road to finding love's shining peace.
Thank you, Cindy. That was just beautiful. We'll close with this translation by Swami Yogeshananda of an ancient prayer for peace. Let there be peace in outer space. Let there be peace in the sky, on the earth, and in the waters. Let there be peace in the herbs, the plants, and the trees. May the gods be peaceful. May the whole universe be pervaded by peace. Let this infinite universal peace prevail throughout my being. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Thank you all for joining us. This was a wonderful and joyous celebration of Swami Yogeshananda's life. And as Swami Vivekananda pointed out, he's not gone anywhere. Where would he go? He's accessible to us as we reach out to him. You may be sure. So until the next time we meet, which could be as early as tomorrow at 11 when we celebrate the birthday of Sri Ramakrishna. Again, thank you all for coming. Thank you for being part of this. And as I said, there will be a memorial album posted on, consisting of pictures and written reminiscences. And please, if you wish to contribute something to that, send it in right away. That will be on our website and on the Facebook page soon. So once again, Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga Durga Durga.
Thank you, Brother Shankara, for organizing this service. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be cheerful. May you have peace of mind. Go in the Divine Mother's loving and protective embrace. Until next time.
Bye-bye.